Okay, so this is the second part of our geometry EOC practice test. So session 2 does have a calculator. So you can use a scientific calculator. The one that you have for your exam will be on the computer. So you need to try to use the one on the computer anytime you need to use a calculator. Now, for this section, we're going to start off with question 1. Again, in this section, you have formula sheets. These are the same formula sheets you see on the exam. Question 1 starts off a stack of 1 dozen cookies of diameter 2.5 inches exactly fits into a cylindrical container of volume, and they give you the volume. Use 3.14 for pi to find the thickness of each cookie. So we know what the stack of cookies is. We know its diameter. We know that what the volume is. So first, writing our equation for volume of a cylinder. Volume of cylinder is V equals base area times height, which is the same thing as saying pi r squared times height. They told us for pi we're using 3.14. They gave us a volume, so we're going to plug it in. So we have 29.452 is equal to 3.14 times, we don't have the radius, but they gave us a diameter. Since they gave us the diameter was 2.5, the radius has to be half of that, which is 1.25. So we're going to plug in the radius of 1.25 squared times the height. And the height's what we have to solve for, because we know that there's a dozen cookies. They want the thickness of each cookie. So first we have to figure out the height of all the cookies together. So we're going to have to simplify this side first. So we still have 29.452. And then on this side, we're going to use our calculator and bring up a calculator here. We have three, actually, for this calculator, let's do the squared value first. So 1.25. There's something else on the calculator. 1.25 squared. And then once we have that, we need to multiply it by the 3.14 times 3.14 gives us that. So now we have, for this part, 4.90625 times height. We need to divide that off from both sides. So again, going back to the calculator, we're going to have 29.452. And then we're going to divide that by the 4.90625. So that gives us approximately 6 for the entire height. So we have 6.0029. You'll round it off there for the height. That's for all 12 cookies because it says 1 dozen. So take that height and then divide it. So divide by 12. Each cookie is approximately 0.5. So divide that by 12. And you get each cookie is 0.5, which is answer B. Then we have, okay, hold on. All right, question number 2. We have a basketball has an approximate volume of 268 centimeters squared. What is the diameter of the basketball? Use 3.14 for pi and round it into to the nearest whole centimeter. So again, giving us volume. So we're using our volume formula, which is 4/3 pi r cubed. So volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. It's hard to write threes on here. All right. So we know the volume. They want us to find the diameter. So we need to find our radius first. And then once we find the radius, then we'll find the diameter. They want us to use 3.14 for pi. So let's plug everything in. We have 268 equals 4/3 times 3.14 times r cubed. So first, multiply that part together. So we have on our calculator over here, 4 divided by 3, then times 3.14. So we get 4.186. And again, we still have r to the third. So now that's what we're dividing this side by. So divide, we have 268 divided by 4.186. And there's a bunch of sixes after, so I'm just going to put a couple extra so we can get closer to an exact value. So now we have 64.0127 equals r to the third. We need to get rid of that third power, so we're going to cube root it. And this calculator, let's see. They don't give me an option for a cube root, doesn't look like. Let me try it in a second and see what happens. Root 3. Yep, there we go. So we took a cube root. It gives me approximately 4. If you want to check your answer, again, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, so that's good. That's our radius. We want, in this question, our diameter is what they're asking us for. So we need to double that. Our diameter is roughly 8, and it's in centimeters. So that's our answer for number 2. Number 3, what is the sum of the interior angles of an 11-sided polygon? There's a formula for that. It is n minus 2 times 180. So plugging in 11 for the number of sides, 11 minus 2 times 180. 11 minus 2 is 9. So 9 times 180. Well, what is 9 times 180? 9 times 180 is 1,620, which is option B. All right, let me scroll this down a little bit. Let me clear what we have. All right, for number 4, it says in the triangle shown, find measure of angle C. So we're looking for angle C over here. They gave us all 3 parts labeled as expressions. All 3 angles in a triangle have to add up to a total of 180 degrees. So we have 180 equals x plus 15 plus 3x plus 10 plus x. Now, combine all of our like terms. So we still have 180 on the right side of our equation. We have an x, a 3x, and another x combined together to give me a 5x. Then we have our constants of 15 and 10. We can add those two together, gives us 25. Then we have, so the right side's been simplified. We need to get these other things over to the other side. So subtract off the 25. That's going to leave us with 155 equals 5x. Finally, get rid of the 5 by dividing it. When we divide by 5, we end up with 31. Now, this is our x value. We were asked to find the measure of angle C, so we still have to plug back in to that equation. So 31 plus 15. 31 plus 15, again, this is the measure of angle C, is going to be 46. So if you look at those answer choices, the first answer choice was 31. So you got to be careful, because a lot of times if we plug back in, the x value will normally be among the answers. So again, make sure you're answering the question that was asked. All right, let's go ahead and clear this and go on to the next one. There, next. All right. All right, number 5, we have, what is the measure angle PTR? So PTR is this angle over here. And they gave us some values for the 2 angles that are vertical on the top angle and the bottom angle. Well, vertical angles have to be congruent. So the 2 values that they gave us of x plus 20 and 2x plus 3, those have to be equal. The first thing we're going to have to do is solve for what x is. So on here, combine like terms, well, all of the parts on each side are simplified. So we're going to have to bring x's to one side and the constants to the other. So I'm going to bring x over by subtracting it. I'm going to bring this 3 over by subtracting it. So now all my constants will be on the left side. Now my variables on the right. 20 minus 3 is 17. 2x minus x is x. So 17 is equal to x. Now, I need to plug that back in to find one of these angles. So it doesn't matter which equation you use, you should get the same thing. I'm going to use the x plus 20 and plug it in, and I get 37. Both of these angles then are 37. We want angle T. Well, these 2 together form a linear pair. So angle T and either one of these 37s forms a straight line. They have to add up to 180 degrees. So 180 minus that 37 leaves us with 143. So our answer is D. On number 6, what is the least angle of rotation that maps the regular 90 onto itself? Round the answer to the nearest whole degree. So again, there's a total of 360 degrees in a circle. So to come all the way back around, it'd be 360 degrees. We know that this is a regular nonagon, it says. Yep, so there's 9 sides. So divide 360 by 9. And 360 divided by 9, well, 36 divided by 9 is 4. And then we have a 0. So it's a total of 40. That is our degree of rotation that will map this figure onto itself. So what that means is each one of these little rotations would be 40 degrees rotation. You could do it a total of 9 times to get all the way back around, which is a total of 360. So 40 is our answer. All right, do that. No more on that page. Let's go to number 7. Item 7, in circle 2, Z, measure of angle PZR is 100 degrees. What is the length of arc PR? So this arc. What is the length? So now, if they're asking for measure, it'd be the same. Since they're asking for length, we have to find an actual distance measurement. They gave us something to use for pi. They told us our radius is 6 on the diagram. So we're going to plug into our formula. Our formula for finding arc length, which is what this is by taking the fraction of the circle we're using, so m over 360, and multiplying by our circumference, which is 2 pi r. Now, on this one, the angle was 100 out of 360 times 2 pi and a radius of 6. Now, we need to simplify this sum. So first thing I'm going to do, we have the 100 over 360. Well, they both end in 0, so we can go ahead and divide both of those by 10. And then we have 10 over 36. I can reduce those more. 10 over 36 reduces by 2 to 5 over 18. Now, 2 times 6 is going to be 12. That's 12 pi. I can go ahead and multiply this. 5 times 12 is 60. That's 60 over 18 pi. All right, 60 and 18, that can be reduced. We have 6 goes into both of those. So that's 10 over 3 pi. This is on the calculator portion, so we could go ahead and multiply this. In fact, if I was thinking earlier, we could have plugged it into the calculator a little bit sooner. But 10 divided by 3 times, I said use 3.14, and it's going to be 10.46. So 10.46, which rounds off to 10.5. All right. If you wanted to plug it into your calculator way back in this step, that'd be fine. Again, you should get the same answer. So let's just plug it in and see what happens. If we had, change my mouse here. We have 6, I'm just going backwards, 6 times 3.14 times 2 times the 100 that was on top, and then divided by 360, and we should get same thing, 10.5. So again, if you're on the calculator portion, you can plug it in earlier and get your correct answer. You don't have to go through all that simplifying. On number 8, we have segments AB and B and CB, which are tangent to circle T. So when we have 2 tangent lines going from the same exterior point to the same circle, they are going to be congruent in length. So AB and BC are congruent. And it wants to know, what is the length of AB? All right, well, they gave us a couple pieces here in the middle so that we know that this piece, if both of these are 8 and 9, that's a total of 17. So then we have 17 for this side. This little piece was 8, which is our radius. So AT is also going to be 8. So now we have one other side to find. Let me call that X for now. But we have a right triangle because, again, our tangent intersects with our radius at a right angle. So this is where we can use Pythagorean theorem. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. C is our longest side, which is 17. A is going to be one of our legs, so we can plug 8 in. And then B can be the value that we're trying to solve for, so I'm going to call that X. So now we have 17 squared, which is 289. And we have 8 squared, which is 64. So 289 equals 64 plus squared. We're going to subtract the 64. So minus 64. That leaves us with 225. For X squared, and then here the square, we'd square root it. Square root of 225, that's going to be 15. And that'll end up being our answer. Now, if you knew your Pythagorean triples, you may have got this answer a lot faster because we had one that is an 8, 15, 17, and that was our triple. So we had 17, we had 8, the missing value was 15, and we could have got our answer a lot quicker. Again, those triples will help out. You will see a decent number of problems that use some type of triple. Again, the two that are more common than this one are going to be our 3, 4, 5, and our 5, 12, 13. But I would say the 8, 15, 17 would be the third most common. All right, moving on. So we have down here number 9, we have a rectangular prism and we have a cylinder. So a piece of pipe with a radius of 20 centimeters is placed in a rectangular cuboid shown below. If A is 45, B is 75, and H is 100, find the volume of the space between the pipe and the box. Use 3.14 for pi, round your answer to the nearest cubic centimeter. So we need to find the volume of the entire rectangular prism and then subtract out the volume of the cylinder. So our two formulas that we're going to need, first, volume of the prism is base area times height. Cylinder is going to be the same thing, base area times height, but since we have a circle bottom, we always replace the base area with our equation for area of a circle, pi squared, and then again times height. For the base area in this one, they gave us the two parts of our base, which were, let's see, A, it said was 45. Oops. A was 45. Then we had B was 75. And then the height was 100. So we're going to have to multiply that out. In the other equation, we have pi. They want us to use 3.14. They give us a radius of 20. And our height, oops, our height we know as well. I thought we didn't know our height. We did. Our height was 100. So multiply this out and bring the calculator back up. We have 45 times 75 times 100. So we have that big number, 337,500. Then we're going to do the same thing for the other one, 3.14 times 20 squared is 400, and times 100. And we get, for the second one, 125,600. So now find the difference between those. So 337,500 minus 125,600. I plug this into the calculator so you don't make as many mistakes. So we have 337,500 minus 125,600. And our answer should be 211,900. Is option C. All right. Next. Number 10. The shadow of a flagpole is 52 feet long. The angle of elevation from the end of the shadow to the top of the flagpole is 30. What's the height of the flagpole? Round to nearest foot. So draw this out. I'm going to go ahead and draw this one over here off to the side. So here's my flagpole. There's my flag. Then we have a shadow going out here. Yep. And then we have the angle elevation drawn in, which it said is 30 degrees. And then we have, let's see, the shadow is 52 feet long. And that's everything they gave us. So the flagpole is going to make a right angle with the ground. So this is actually a trig problem. You could use trig, or since it's a right triangle and we have a 30-degree angle, you could call this a special right triangle, which is a 30, 60, 90. Now, both ways, you're going to get the correct answer. So it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to show both ways. So first, using our 30, 60, 90 triangle, we have a couple of properties. I'm drawing this in the same direction that the other one is. So 30, 60, 90. Normally, our short leg is referred to as X. Our long leg is usually the short leg times square root of 3. And our hypotenuse is usually 2 times the short leg. In this case, we were given the long leg. We had to go backwards to find X. So we're going to divide by square root of 3. So 52 divided by square root of 3. Now, normally we would have to rationalize the denominator, but since it says round to the nearest foot, you can just plug this one into the calculator. So we have 52 divided by 3. And again, I got to change that to the square root. And then make sure I hit my equal T. So I get my final answer of 30.02. I said round to the nearest foot. So that's 30 feet. Now, if you don't know your special right triangle well, one thing that you can do is you can use your trig ratios as well. So on this one, they had us pretty much label this 30-degree angle. We were given the side that would be considered the adjacent, and we needed to find our opposite. So opposite and adjacent are used in tangent. They give you the sine, cosine, and tangent ratios on your formula sheet. So if this one's easier for you to use, then you can use this one on the test. So tangent of 30 equals opposite, which we don't know, over adjacent, which is 52. And then we can solve from there. So multiply 52 over to the other side, get it out of the denominator. So we have 52 times tangent of 30. Now, when you go to plug this into the calculator, you have to make sure that you're in degree mode. Again, if you type in any type of sine, cosine, and tangent problem in your calculator and it's not in degree mode, you can see my calculator, it's in degree mode right now, then you get a wrong answer. So you want to make sure it says degree mode. All right, let's type it in, and we should get the same value we had before. So we have 52 times 30, second, tangent. Now, right now, this answer is only saying what the tangent of 30 is. I have to make sure it equals, get my final answer, which was 30.022. Again, same as what we had before. So our answer is 30 feet. All right, go on to the next one, number 11. We have two triangles shown are similar. So they're telling us that they're similar. Find the value of X. Now, they gave us a couple parts. I wish they had given us a little bit more information so that we knew how they matched up. By looks, again, short side should go with short side, long leg with long leg, hypotenuse with hypotenuse. So they have to be in corresponding order. They want us to find the value of X. Well, we know that the hypotenuse and the side that X is on, they have to share the same ratio. So I'm going to write a proportion where we have 20.8 over 26 is equal to X over 24. So here it matched up the two hypotenuses over top of each other, and then it matched up the two long legs over top of each other. And I did it in the same order so that the small triangle's on top and the big triangle's on bottom. So now, how do we solve a proportion? We cross multiply. So we have 26 times x is equal to 20.8 times 24. Again, we have a calculator, so we're going to plug that in to see what it gives us. So on our calculator, we have 20.8 times 24, which gives us 499.2. Last step, divide by 26. So divide by 26, and that gives us 19.2. And double check, make sure that's what we want to find. We want to find the value of x. That is what we found. So C is our correct answer. All right, clear that off. Let's go up a little bit. On number 12, it says sphere has a radius twice. Sphere A has a radius. Sphere B twice. Sphere A has a radius twice sphere B. The way that's worded sounds funny. And sphere B has a volume of 16 pi. What is the volume of sphere A? Well, essentially by telling us that the radius is twice sphere B, they just gave us that our scale factor is 2. So then for our volume ratio, we're taking our scale factor and we're squaring it. So we're doing 2 squared, which is, sorry, not squared, my bad, cubed. Volume is cubed. So 2 cubed is 8. So it's going to be 8 times as big. So if they told us that the volume of B is 16 pi, and they wanted the volume of A, we can write a ratio. So 8. So our ratio for the first one is going to be 8 to 1. And our volume of the bigger one is 16 pi. We want to know the volume of sphere A. So cross multiply and solve. 8A equals 16 pi. Divide by 8. And x is 2 pi. Maybe I did this backwards. Let me go back and look. Sphere A has a radius twice sphere B. All right, so yeah, so I thought we were solving for the smaller one. We are solving for the bigger one. A is the bigger one. It says A is twice the radius. So I need to flip one of those two fractions, not both of them, just one of them. So let me go back. So instead of having 16 pi over x, we should have it the other way, x over 16 pi. I mean, I almost wrote it the same way again. X over 16 pi. So cross multiply again. X equals 8 times 16. I think of what that is off the top of my head. Let me plug it into my calculator, since this is a calculator version. So 8 times 16 is 128. So I get 128 pi, which is answer B. All right, on to the next one. For 13, the cone-shaped game piece is made of a metal with a density of 9.2 grams per centimeter cubed. What is the mass of the game piece? So we have first we got to find the volume of this entire figure. For a cone, the volume is 1/3 base area times height, which again, more specific, since our base is a circle, it's going to be pi r squared times height. Plug in the values that we know, 1/3 pi. The radius is going to be 1.5 squared. The height is going to be the 4. Again, height must always be the one that is perpendicular into the vertex. So now we have our equation. We need to simplify it. Oops. This is a calculator portion, so if you want to plug everything in to your calculator, you can. Again, your calculator is going to be on the computer. If you multiply this out, 1.5 times 1.5 is going to give us 2.25 times 4. 2.25 is going to end up giving us, the times 4, that's 9. So we get 9 pi. 1/3 of 9 is 3. So we get 3 times pi, which, again, at some point, we're going to have to plug this into the calculator. So pull up the calculator, 3 times 3.14, since that's what they told us to use for, or did they say use 3.14? They did not. All the other ones that we've done so far have said to use 3.14. I'm actually going to use the pi button on the calculator this time. So 3 times pi equals, and we get 28.27. Now, this is our volume. We need to take our density that they gave us and multiply that volume by that density, so we know how many grams this is. So multiply that times 9.2. Just on my calculator, I didn't get rid of any of those decimals, so that's more accurate. And I don't see the correct answer listed. There's a problem like this on something else that didn't have a correct answer. I'm wondering if this is the same problem that you pulled it from that same worksheet. This is what I got as my answer. Let me go back to the work real fast and make sure we didn't miss anything. We could have plugged in earlier. So let's just go back to the earlier spot that had values and plug in those numbers and see what we get. So 1.5, we'll start with that since that value was squared. Square it, times that by 4, times that by 1/2 or 1/3. So divided by 3. You know what? Instead of using 3.1, or instead of using the pi button, let's use 3.14 and see what it is. Times 3.14. And then if I take that and multiply that number by the number was much smaller than what I had the first time, isn't it? I had 3. You know what? Right here, something happened. That's wrong. That's where it is. So we had, all right, let me erase this. 3 pi. This was way too much. It should have been 28. So we're going to have 3 times pi. Let's plug that back in. 3 times pi equals, there we go. That's where the mistake was. So it's going to be 9.42. And then that part times the 9.2 gives us a total of 86.7. And that's our correct answer. So erase this. Our answer is 86.7, which is A. All right. Next one's going to be 14. All right, so number 14, let's see. What is the area of sector MTN? So the sector that's right here, that's shaded, that's what we're finding the area. There's a formula for that. It is similar to our arc length formula, but area of a sector is found by doing the fraction of the circle that we're using. So over 360 times the area formula for a circle, which is pi r squared. Let's see, we have an angle, or sorry, an arc measure, which is 42. So 42 over 360 times pi r, and this one is 8, so 8 squared. And then we need to simplify. Notice all the answers are in simplified form in terms of pi. So we're not going to multiply out pi this time. So first thing, let's see if we can simplify this a little bit. We have 42 and 360. 6 definitely goes into both of those. So we can divide the top one by 6 and we get 7. Divide the bottom one by 6 and we get, let's see, that's going to be 660. So now we still have the 8 squared, which is 64. So now multiply 64 to the top with the 7. So I have 7 times 64 over 60. So I have pi. Before we multiply this, since that's going to give me a really big number, we could reduce even more. 64 and 60 both can reduce by 4. So I'm going to reduce those by 4. If I reduce 64 by 4, that's going to give me 16. 60 divided by 4, that's going to give me 15. No, yeah, 15. So now I have on top 7 times 16. 7 times 16 is 112. I have 15 on bottom. So that's 112 pi over 15. Doesn't matter if you write the pi on top or next to it, but D is our correct answer. All right, moving on to the next one. And we're on that page at 15. On 15, we have a circle. We have 2 chords that are intersecting, and they want us to find AC. AC is this entire length of this chord. Well, we have a formula that will allow us to solve for the missing part over here, which is the other half of AC. And they gave us, let's see, 3.2 times x equals 1.6 times 4.8. Now, this drawing is not very good to scale. But what we're doing, we're multiplying the 2 parts of the one chord and should equal the multiplying the 2 parts of the other chord. So the product of these 2 equals the product of those 2. So 3.2x equals, I'm going to have to plug that one into the calculator. Let's see. We have 1.6 times 4.8. That gives me a total of 7.68. And then divide off 3.2. Divide 3.2. Gives us 2.4. So that's x, but that's not what we want. That's only this piece. They want us to find the entire line AC. So now we have to add those together. So we have 3.2 and 2.4 added together gives us 5.6. Is option choice D. On the next one, find the value of X. Since they mark these two corners as congruent, that means that those two angles congruent make this an isosceles triangle. That's the converse of an isosceles, actually, yeah. That's the converse of an isosceles triangle here. Since the base angles are congruent, then this is going to be isosceles triangles with the opposite legs congruent. So we have those two expressions that they gave us need to be able to be set equal. So 5x plus 11 equals 3x plus 21. Bring the 3x over leaves us with 2x. Bring the 11 over leaves us with 10. Divide by 2, and you're left with 5. It just wanted to know what x is, so x is 5. All right, let's scoot this up. There. All right, so we got two more down here. On 17, the height of the pyramid-shaped sculpture. The height of a pyramid-shaped sculpture with a square base is 1/2 the length of each side. The volume of the sculpture is 972 inches cubed. What is the height of the sculpture? So let's go back through the height, a pyramid-shaped sculpture with a square base is 1/2 the length of each side. So they didn't actually tell us any other dimensions here. It's just all based off of, I'm going to call it x. So we have our equation, which we need to write out first. This is based on volume. Our volume equation for a pyramid, which I'm doing over here off the side, is volume equals 1/3 base area times height. Well, normally that base area, we would end up plugging in our equation for our area formula, which is base times height, or length times width also works. Since this is a square, that's why we plugged in the base times height. They said the height of the pyramid is 1/2 the length of each side. So I'm going to call each side x for right now. So I have 1/3 x times x. And the height, it says, is 1/2 the length of each side. So the height is going to be x divided by 2. They also told us that the volume is 972. So we're saying this equal to 972. So now, multiplying this out, we have 972 equals, on this side, we can put all these x's on top. So x times x times x is x to the 3rd. The 3 and the 2 are on bottom, so when we multiply those, they stay on bottom, and that's going to give us 6. We need to get the 6 over to the other side by multiplying. So we're going to multiply that to the other side. So we have 972 times 6, which equals 5,832. Then we need to get x by itself. So we have to take a cubed root. So take a cubed root of both sides. So on the calculator, I'm doing second cubed root is 18. So they wanted, what is the height of the sculpture? This represents the length of one of the sides. The height was half of that. So the height's going to be 9. So 9 inches. Yeah, divide that in half. And that's what gave us 9 for our height. All right, for 18, what is the length of AC, given that AB is 10.1? So I said this whole thing is 10.1. and CB is 8.3, and they want this piece. Well, all we have to do is find the difference. So 10.1 minus 8.3. After doing the last problem, this one's much easier. So 10.1 minus 8.3. That's 1.8. And that's it. All right, so let's clear that off. Let's get to the next page. On 19. Yeah, shooting a paintball gun at a target in a tree. She's at G, the target is at E. Assuming her paintball shoots straight, what angle should she aim at to hit her target around to nearest 10? All right. So on here, they want to know what this angle elevation is going to be. I'm going to call that X for right now. And we're basing it off of this angle. So we have opposite and we have adjacent. Now, this is one of our trig ratios. Which one uses opposite and adjacent? Well, if you don't know them, write them out. They are in your reference sheet. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent equals opposite over adjacent. So opposite and adjacent, this is tangent. Tangent of our angle measure, which we don't know, we're calling X, equals the opposite, which was 28.2, over the adjacent, which was 45.8. Now, on this one, we got to get rid of tangent. But in order to do that, we have to do the inverse tangent. Now, we're going to be plugging into a calculator, so we might as well do the division part here first. So I have 28.2 divided by 45.8, which gives us roughly 0.6157. Now, we're doing the inverse tangent to get X by itself. Anytime you're solving for an angle measure, it's inverse tangent. So inverse tangent oops, what just happened? I think I hit equals one too many times there. Let me go back. So we had 0.6157 second inverse tangent. There it is. Yeah, 31. So you're going to do the inverse tangent. 0.6157. That gave us 31.62, which is option B. On number 20, what is the measure of PTQ? I feel like we did this problem already. The same problem as earlier. I know there's one just like it. I feel like those numbers are exactly the same. Let me go back for a second. Oops, I went the other way. Right there, number 5. We had X plus 20, 2X plus 3. Well, we pretty much already did this one. They just are having us find a different angle this time. If you look back at number 5, we already did all the work for that one earlier. I'm going to do it again since I erased it. It's no longer on the slide. But I don't know why they would have done this again. The exact same problem. We have vertical angles. Those vertical angles need to be set equal. So we have our equation Bring the x over, it leaves us with just x. Bring the 3 over, it leaves us with 17. X is 17. We need to put it back in. 17 plus 20 is 37. Our answer is D. All right, moving on. Clear. On 21 down there. What is the distance between these 2 points around 10^10? So you'd have to know your distance from it. Distance equals the square root of x, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So again, change the x's squared, change the y squared, and then square rooted. If you drew this out as a diagram, you can also use Pythagorean theorem, which essentially distance from it is Pythagorean theorem. Plug these values in. This could be my x1, y1. This could be my x2, y2. So we have 6 minus 3 squared plus 15 minus 12 squared. 6 minus 3 is 3. 3 squared is 9. 15 minus 12 is 3. 3 squared is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. And the square of 18, plug this into the calculator. Clear. 18 divided, or not divided. 18 square rooted. Oh, that was a cube root. My bad. I must have hit the second key. Try that again. 18 square rooted 4.2, which is A. Clear that out. All right, 22. We have a circle. On the circle, we have an angle, which is an inscribed angle. They want to know the arc that's across an inscribed angle. So the inscribed angle is 108. They want to know this intercepted arc. The intercepted arc is going to be double the inscribed angle. So just doubling the 108 gives us 216. So that's a really easy question for a calculator portion. I'd actually think that would be on the non-calculator portion. In fact, we saw one like that on the non-calculator portion. On 23, it says find x. Well, on this one, they give us enough information to first tell that these two figures are congruent, I believe. Let me double check. Two sides. All right, well, they gave us, we don't know for sure that the triangles are congruent, but they did have congruency marks labeled here. So we can set it up so that the congruent parts are equal. 3x plus 1 equals x plus 3. Or we could have done 4x minus 1 equals 5x minus 2. Again, they both should work out the same value, so it shouldn't matter which one you do. I'm going to try both of them just to make sure they work out the same. Bring this x over by subtracting it, so now we're down to 2x. Bring the 1 over by subtracting it, we're down to 2. Divide by 2, and x is 1. Let's check to see if this one works out the same. Subtract 4x from both sides, that leaves us with just x on the right side. Bring the negative 2 over by adding 2, and that's going to give us a positive 1. In both cases, x equals positive 1. He gave us a lot more information than we really needed there. Number 24, which is equivalent to sine of 51. What you have to remember is that the sine of one angle is going to be equal to the cosine of its complement. So all we're actually doing is subtracting 51 from 90, which gives us 39. And then the cosine of that 39 should be equivalent to 50. And that's because in a right triangle, the two acute angles will always be complementary. They always add up to 90. So if we switch which angle we're talking about, we're changing what operation we're doing between sine and cosine. So they switch parts, but give us the same ratio. So again, that is just a property. The sine of one value is equal to the cosine of its complement. All right, moving on. So clearing that one. We did 24, 25. It says a traffic pi lane is shown. Use 3.14 for pi. Find the volume. So again, it's a cone. So we have volume equals 1/3 base area times height. For base area, we're plugging in pi r squared. They gave us the part that we need. So we have 1/2 pi. The radius was 1.7. The height, 2.4. And then we just had to multiply everything out. Now, we can plug it right into the calculator right now, since this is the calculator portion of our test. We save some time, plug the whole thing in. We have, I'm going to start with the value that's being squared, 1.7 times itself, or I can hit the square key on the calculator, either way works, times 2.4 times 3.14. And then we have times 1/2. So you could say times 0.5, or it could be divided by 2. Either way works. But my answer should be 10.88952, which rounds off to C, 10.89. All right, clear that off. All right, now we're on 26. 26 is a trapezoid. What is AB? So they want this top length. They gave us the base at the bottom. They gave us a mid segment. It's connecting the two midpoints of the sides. So the mid segment is the average of the two bases. Since they gave us the mid segment, what we can do is find the difference between the two numbers here. So from 26 to 18, that's a difference of 8 units. So that same 8-unit difference has to be here as well. So subtract 8, and we're left with 10. If you wanted to, you could also write it out as an equation. If you did it as an equation, we would have said that the x plus 26 divided by 2 equals 18. And then we would have solved, because the average of the two bases equals the mid segment. And if you did it that way, you should still get the same answer. We've multiplied the 2 over to the other side, you got 36, subtracted off 26, and you get 10. So again, 2 different ways to do it. On 27, you have the diagram drawn for you. They want to know what is the area of triangle JKL. So on here, we have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is also 5 by 1. So if I find the length of one of those pieces, I'll have both of my legs. So let's figure that part out first. So c squared equals 5 squared plus 1 squared. That's Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared is 25. 1 squared is 1. So that's 26. So c is the square root of 26. Now, normally I would actually find the value there. I don't have to, because those are the two legs that we have. So now I'm going to plug it into my formula for area. Area of a triangle is found by doing 1/2 base times height. both my base and my height are the square root of 26. So I have 1/2 square root of 26, square root of 26. Since we're multiplying those same two values, that just becomes 26. So we have 1/2 of 26, which is 13. And our answer is B. All right, clear that one off. Let's move this up. On 28, we have a gardener is putting up dividers in his vegetable garden. He wants to keep zucchini in a section marked WZT. Each side must be at least 20 feet long in order for the zucchini to have enough room. Find the length of ZT and use that to decide if the section is big enough. All right, so we got that, we got that. Well, kind of an odd problem, but all right, this is 3x, this is 3x. So we know these two have to be equal. Let's start there. So opposite sides of a parallelogram have to be equal. There's enough information there to say it's a parallelogram. Bringing the terms to the same side, so subtract off the 5x from both sides. We're left with 2x. Bring the -9 over by adding 9. So that gives us 12 divided by 2, and x is 6. Let's plug that into one of these values and see what happens. So 5 times 6 plus 3. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 plus 3 is 33. So this side is 33. All right. Then we also know that this piece that's labeled as 3x, we have 3 times 6, which is 18. They said that each side must be at least 20 feet long. The zucchini to have enough room. So on here, look at this triangle. This one has a length of 18 only on ZT. So no, there's not going to be enough space. All right, number 29. So Smallville has a population of 187,000 in an area of 23 miles squared. Tiny Town has a population of 94,500 in an area of 12 miles squared. Which town has the higher density? So they're looking at population density. So they're just taking each of those populations and dividing it by the number of miles to figure out the population per square mile. So these are the two fractions that you should set up. The first one is 187,000 over 23. The second one is 94,500 over 12. So let's get our calculator and see which one is going to be the higher density. So 187,000 divided by 23. That gives us a population density of 8,130.43. The other one, plug that in, you have 94,500 divided by 12. You get a population density of 7,875. Which one is bigger? the 8,130, which was Smallville. So Smallville has a higher density. On the next one, number 30, given circle Z with tangents ZW and ZY, what is the measure of angle X? So both of these are tangents. We're looking for this angle. Well, they tell us that this angle is 140 degrees, and they tell us that the other angle on the other side is 220 degrees. And we have a formula that allows us to find the exterior angle. For the exterior angle, we're doing the difference of the big arc minus the little arc divided by 2. So what is the big arc? It was 220. The little arc was 140 divided by 2. So 120 minus 140 is 80. 80 divided by 2 is 40. So my angle measure is 40 degrees. All right, let me clear that and move this up. For 31, find the value of A in the polygon. So this angle here. First, we have to figure out how many sides does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5-sided figure. So we need to know what is the sum of all the interior angles of a 5-sided figure, which is a pentagon. The formula to find the sum of all the angles is n minus 2 times 180. Plug in 5. 5 minus 2 times 180. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 times 180 is going to give us a total of 540. So now 540 is our total. Add up all the ones that we have there. So we have 110, 102, 145, and 128. Add all those up. See what we get. So let's go to my calculator. 110, 102, 145, 128. That's a total of 485. What's the difference? 540 minus 485. 540 minus 485 is 55. Is option D. All right. On to the next one. So on the next page, we have 32, 33, and 34. These are the last 3 problems. Which of the following may represent possible side lengths of a triangle? Well, any 2 sides of a triangle have to be greater than the 3rd side. So look at them in order. In each case, we want to look at the 2 smallest sides, and we're going to add them to see if they're bigger than the 3rd side. So 4.8 plus 11.2, if we add those 2 together, that's going to give us 16, even. Well, 16 is less than 16.1. It's not greater than, so that doesn't work. So A is out. Go on to the next one. Smallest 2 pieces are 5.8 and 4.7. If we add those 2 together, we have 9, 10.5. The other side was 12.4, and 10.5 is less than 12.4, not greater than, so that doesn't work. Again, 2 small sides on the next one are 8.2 and 7.3. 8.2 plus 7.3 That's going to be 15.5. The other side is 16.1. Again, less than, not greater than. So that doesn't work. So hopefully it's this last one because we're out of options. 5.3 plus 9.4 gives us 14.7. Our other side was 14.6. So finally, this one does work. The two smallest pieces are greater than the third side, so it can be a triangle. All right, 33. What is the value of x? Well, they gave us two interior angles, and they gave us one exterior angle. There's a property said that the two remote interior angles of a triangle have to equal the exterior angle. So the sum of these two remote interiors, so x plus 35 plus x plus 40 had to equal that exterior angle of x plus 110. Again, what makes these two remote interior angles? They're the two interior angles not touching that exterior angle. So add them up. X plus x is 2x. 35 and 40 is 75. Now, we have to get the x's on the same side, so subtract x. We're left with just 1x on that side. Subtract 75. 75 subtracted from that is going to be 35. So x is 35. That's our final answer. And then finally, the last one, we have this equation is equivalent to which equation in standard form. So we have this equation in general form, and we had to rewrite it in standard form. These are the equations of a circle. Now, in order to do that, we have to complete the square. We have to complete the square twice. So we're gonna have to rewrite this formula first so that the x's are grouped and the y's are grouped and the constants are on the other side. So we have x squared, we have minus 2x, and plus an unknown value that will be our third term to complete the square. Then for the second part of this, we have the y squared, so plus y squared. We have the 6y, and we have another blank that will help us complete the square for that part of those three terms. And on the last part of this, so equals the 3 that was over here on this side, we bring over to the other side by subtracting it. So we have a -3. But then we also have two blanks. We have a blank for the value from the first set of terms from the x's, and we have a blank for the set of terms with the y's, because we have to balance the equation. Now, what do we actually plug into these blanks? We take the b value divided by 2 and squared. So b divided by 2 and squared. That's what we're plugging into the blank. So what's the b value? It's these second terms. Those are b values. So on here, all right, sorry, I had somebody ring the door. Let's finish this problem off. So we have our b value, again, divided by 2 squared is what we're using to complete our square. So we're making two perfect square trinomials. So for the x values that I have in red, we're doing the b value, which is -2, divided in half, and then squaring it. Now, you don't really have to worry about the negative positive part because we're going to square it, and it's always going to be positive when we add it. So -2 divided by 2 is -1. -1 squared is +1. Well, we added it on the left, so we have to add it to the right to balance the equation. Then we do the y values. So we have the 6 is our b value. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So 9 is what we're adding on both sides of the equation. Then this is where we are going to combine all of our values on the right side of the equation. So over here, we have -3, 1, and 9. We can combine those together. -3 and 1 gives us -2. -2 and 9 gives us -7. Sorry, +7, I meant. And then on the rest of the equation, And we can already see we're starting to eliminate options because A and D don't have the right value on the right side of the equation. For the rest of this, we're now taking the x values and changing this into a binomial that's been squared. So this is the perfect square trinomial currently. We're changing it into a binomial that is squared. So we're taking the square root of the first term. So the square root of x squared is just x. The square root of 1 from the last term is 1. And then we're taking the sign from the middle, which was negative. So we have minus sign. Then for the next one, again, we're going to do a binomial that's squared. Square root of y squared is y. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of, sorry, not square root, the sign from the middle, which is positive. So now look at which one matches just like that equation. And we have a -1, a +3. That is B. And that's going to be our answer. Now, there are a few things that could have helped us narrow down our answer choice a little bit faster. Example, we saw that we had a negative value here with our second x value. That means that our sign would have been negative with the x. Here we had a positive with our y value in the middle. So our y value would have been positive. So we could have narrowed it down to A or B right away. Once we knew what numbers we're adding and we combined them over on the right side, we got 7. We could have narrowed it down to B just by eliminating without doing the entire problem. All right, so that's the entire review. Again, good luck on your test. If you need to go back and watch any more of this, go back and watch it. There's the other video that goes with the first session as well. But good luck on your exam.